Would you know my name if I saw you in heaven? Would it be the same?
Well, I mean, I've known Dylan since we were kids, and Dylan was a good friend. Dylan was probably my best friend, to be honest. He was always willing to have a good time. He was always fun, exciting, energetic. He never made you feel like less of a person. He never went out of his way to, make fun of you or, in front of others. He always had your back, and he was always somebody you could count on. He was just always there. He was always willing to help you out with any problems you had, any situation you might be in. I mean, you felt comfortable around him,
September 2008. It was the first day of my freshman year in high school, and first period was gym class, the bane of the overweight. And that very first day, we divided off into squads that we'd eventually stay with for the rest of the year, and we had to do this massive, ridiculous scavenger hunt trying to find letters to spell a word that were scattered throughout the fields of Mid Lakes. And it took so long and so much energy. And Dylan and I ended up in the same squad, and after about 10 minutes of running, I was exhausted. But Dylan, I'd never met him before this, but he just kept pushing me and telling me, we can make it, we can make it, we can do it. We only got 3 letters left. We only got 2 letters left. We got 1 letter left, man. And by the end of the period, I was so exhausted that I thought I was going to die. And Dylan would not leave me behind, and he said, I will push you if I have to. We are going to get that last letter. And I was just like, go on without me. I'm already gone. You'll be faster when I'm dead. And Dylan was like, no, man, we're going to do it. We're going to go. And he got behind me, and he grabbed my back, and he physically pushed me across the field for like half a mile. Just kept saying, come on, man. Come on, we're going to do it. On the count of 3. On the count of 3, man, we're just going to haul ass, okay? I'm going to count to 3. And I was like, no. He's like, come on, man, I believe in you. You can do it. And I was just like, okay. But I don't want to. And he's just like, you can do it. It'll be fine. 1, 2, 3. And he pushed off, and he ran beside me the entire length of the field. And we got to the end, and we came in last place. But I did it. And Dylan really physically pushed me all the way through. And I collapsed in exhaustion. But we became best friends after that. He was my motivator, as I called him. And then from there, it just turned into brotherhood.
I would describe him as extremely loyal, very trusting. You can have a lot of fun with him. Pretty much any time you hang out with him, you know it's going to be a good time, and it's going to be a moment that you'll never forget.
First of all, it was actually a choice for Dylan to be my son because I adopted Dylan after I married Colleen. Always thought he was a great kid. Intelligent, despite what his grades might have shown, Dylan was a very intelligent kid. His sense of humor was much like mine, a little bit twisted, but great sense of humor. In his own words, I'd say Dylan was very chill. He had a temper, but he didn't show it a lot. Took a lot to push him over the edge as far as the temper went. Just so great to have him as a son. And I always said that. It's not because he's passed that I say anything like that. I always felt that way about him.
Pretty much Dylan would help anybody with anything they wanted. Always had fun no matter what he did. He wasn't really afraid of getting in trouble, and somehow he never did, really. But, yeah, he was just there, like, do you have something bothering you? He's there. He didn't judge you for anything.
Probably my favorite Dylan moment had to have been when we were kids. We were at my old campground that we used to go to every summer, and we had invited Dylan because we were like really good friends, and their parents didn't see any problem with it, and my parents didn't see any problem with it. So he came up and hung out with us for the weekend, and we never hung out a whole weekend before, and we got on each other's nerves pretty good. And we were building sandcastles out in the backyard, in this big sandbox, and Dylan kept saying his sandcastle was better than mine, and he got mad because when I made mine, it looked perfect, and I had the better sand bucket. So he took a hunk of grass and he threw it at my sandcastle. So I kicked part of his sandcastle over, and then he knocked my sandcastle to the ground. And we started battling and bickering and stuff until my dad came out and yelled at us. And he brought us both home early. Brought Dylan back to his parents, and the entire way home we kept trying to convince him that we were best buddies again, and that it was all fake and we were just joking around.
How old were you?
We were like 9. It was
Still
hysterical.
played in the sandbox when you were 9?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we were building forts and everything, and he totally kicked mine over.
This was 2007, right?
Yeah, and then I kicked his over, and it turned into a bloody battle of sandcastle.
What?
Bloody battle of sandcastle warfare.
Okay, well.
Yep. Until the gods rained down their mighty voice, or my dad. Not sure which.
Wait, your dad was the gods, or your dad was the mighty voice?
The mighty voice.
Dylan's always been there for me. He's a fantastic listener. Whether it's in phone or on the person, you can call him up and he would listen to you, and you can just talk to him about anything, and he would always listen to you and give you some good advice.
Well, Dylan was the kind of guy where if you called him at like 3 o'clock in the morning and were just like, hey man, you doing anything? You want to hang out? He'd be like, yeah. Even if he was sleeping, he's always down to hang out. He was always concerned about how his friends were doing. If you needed anything, Dylan was always the first guy to give you a call, make sure you were doing okay, and he was just always a really fun person to hang out with and talk to, and he was a great listener and pretty insightful when he needed to be. He was also pretty loud. Very loud, very fun to be around. You could really do anything with him, from being serious and talking about life and the future, or just goofing around, being dinks in the parking lot at Denny's. Everything in between. Dylan really met the standard of friendship anywhere it could be found.
Well, I think most important to Dylan had to be family and friends. It was never about fame. It was never about money. It was never about owning this or that. I mean, he really, like, deep down, he really cared about people, and he really cared about his community. I know he was involved in a lot of church activities and things like that. Just all around, he just wanted to help others. He didn't care how people viewed him. He wanted to do it for the good of everybody. He just loved everyone and everything.
Probably my favorite memory with Dylan would be one of the times we're at McDonald's. It was me, Chet, Casey, and McCormick.
McCormick, yes!
And
Ridiculous name.
Chet and McCormick were just kind of talking about their own thing. Casey, Dylan, and I were pretty much bitching about this one guy that was going the wrong way through the McDonald's parking lot. And we came up with a story about how he was going to crash, cause a fire, and then fire trucks were going to come and block us in. And
Classic.
basically it just really escalated to a point where we were like rulers of the world, and we renamed Walmart Bromart.
That was my idea!
No, we definitely it escalated really
It
quick.
got out of hand fast. Yeah.
And it was just crazy.
We took over the world. At one point.
Yeah, we took over the world, and we're like,
Yep.
protecting the Earth from aliens coming in to try and take over Bromar. Thing.
Bromar was like an empire.
Yeah, Bromar was the empire.
Dylan was like the ruler of that empire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was the master commander.
Now, when did Chet get stabbed in the face with a straw?
Oh,
That was a totally
that was after.
unrelated.
Oh, that was a different time.
That
That was a Denny's.
that was at McDonald's. We were with Heather and Steve actually, and Casey and Dylan and I were hanging out, and we went to McDonald's, and I took the wrapper off of a straw, and I was sitting next to Dylan, and I just went, and it hit him in the side of the head, and he looked at me ferociously, ripped my straw out of my hand, and stabbed me 7 times in the forehead, and it left a crescent mark right at the tip near my hairline, and I just bled a lot.
This is a real story.
So it
Yeah.
This is a real story.
So it should
Not
be.
making
I thought
those
it
up.
was ridiculous again here.
No, it was
No, that really happened.
Okay.
That really
can
happened.
see that happening.
So on our way out of McDonald's, I threw the entirety of my large orange high C lava burst at Dylan's back. And he was wearing a white shirt, and it stained, and we had to put towels in Casey's car. Dylan was mad.
Because of raisins.
I had to run very fast. Faster than I had to run when Dylan pushed me through that race. He probably really regrets making me do that.
Dylan always found his friends the most important thing. You know, his friends and his family. He was always there for them. He was always there for me. You know, I like to think that I was there for him too. I know Dylan was like, his religion was very important too, and that's very important as far as Dylan goes. That's a huge part of him. I think that's a great thing to have.
I think what was important to Dylan is basically family, friends, just hanging out all the time, doing whatever makes you happy, making other people happy, doing what you can for others, just doing a lot of good in the world, and just having fun and making every minute count.
Dylan didn't really have views about like where people came from. It's not like where you come from that makes you, it's just who you are. And don't hide anything, like don't hide who you are, don't try to be like the cool kid, I guess. Just treat people better.
So I was at my cousin's wedding, and Dylan and I, we were just dancing for a little while with like this big group of people, and then we started getting into this circle where people would just go into the middle of it and start breakdancing. So Dylan's dress pants pockets are like loaded with like a cell phone. I think he had like my mom's keys, his like fat wallet that was like this with like nothing but a bunch of like cards in it, like almost no money.
Like Don's fault. No money.
So
still very full.
So anyway, he's like, Kayla, in this serious face, and starts unloading his pockets, and it's like this 30-second process. Hands me the stuff, gets in the middle of the circle, and starts breakdancing. I didn't know he could do it, and then he ends with like this sassy, like, almost like Rose DeWipticator from the Titanic pose. And then he gets up, and then we all just like start dancing again, and this went on till like about midnight, and we just had a great time at the wedding and everything.
Well, first and foremost, Dylan always put being the best person he could be at the top of his list of things to do. He was really the kind of person who cared more about his friends than his own well-being, and a lot of times, you know, it seemed like he was just being laid back and, you know, not really caring about what was going on, but he thought a lot. He was a really pensive guy, and what really mattered the most to him was just, you know, living every day like it was his last, and, you know, making sure his friends and family were happy, and even when it was, you know, digging Kayla into the bottom of the deepest depths of Minecraft, he always looked out for her when it really mattered, and he cared deeply about his, you know, his parents, his sister, and everybody in his life. Dylan was all about making people happy and living to make sure that people were smiling no matter what was going on.
Faith was the most important thing to Dylan, as far as what I could see. He had great faith in God. He led me to be saved. on August 4th, 2009 at Kingdom Bound at Darien Lake. His friends were also extremely important to him. He would do anything for his friends. He would defend them to the end. Family, his cousins, Corinne, Michael, Lauren, it's very important to him. He just gave of himself. Everything was more important to him than actually he himself was important. He just gave of himself. The Chrysalis movement, the Koinonia movement, you know, going and working on the weekends down there, leading other children, I shouldn't say children, other adolescents, teenagers to God. That was all very important to Dylan, and Dylan lived to help other people. He really didn't live for himself like the stereotypical teenager did. He lived to help other people and to help them find the Lord, and it just made me so proud.
So when we get together,
You're gay.
Ryan, Casey, and me, and Dylan, we play a lot of Halo, like a lot of Halo. We'd start like maybe 7 o'clock at night if earlier, just play till so late in the hours that we should not even be up at this point. Like, we're exhausted. We keep playing. We get rowdy, drink a lot of soda, get all hyper and stuff like that, to the point where Dylan wasn't really functioning anymore, both mentally and verbally.
That didn't take much.
To the point where he was just yelling into the mic just the most ridiculous things. It doesn't really make any sense. And the most memorable one was, "Your ass is like Green Gots, it's mine." And we were laughing so hard we had to pause the game.
Your ass is
We're like,
Dylan,
what? He's like, I don't even know what I just said. But yeah, those were some good times with him, playing Halo with you guys. We had a good time.
If Dylan were here right now, gosh, I've had many dreams about what I would say to him. First and foremost, I think it would be like, "It's good to see you." It's been 2 years since he left, and every day since then has been really a new challenge. But if I had 5 minutes with Dylan, we'd probably get into a wrestling match. I'd try to make him tap out with my arm bar, and he'd scream and groan and refuse no matter how much pain he was in. And I'd just tell him, "Man, I miss you, and life's not the same without you. And I look forward to the day when I can see you face to face again. But until then, well, I miss you."
First, I'd ask Dylan if he misses us as much as we miss him, and if he remembers some of the times we had, especially when we were younger, because when we were younger, we were always over here. He was always over at our house. And there's just a lot there, I guess. One time he raced, it was my fault, he crashed a skateboard, or a scooter actually, into a chair that my grandmother was sitting on. But that was always one of the good memories. It was funny.
If I had 5 minutes alone with him, I'd tell him that you're one of the best friends I ever had, and that I do miss you a lot, and I think about you every day. And I really wish you were here with us. Just, hanging out together, you and us, our friends. Just like best time I ever had with you.
Say that, it's really nice to see you again, and I had a lot of fun with all the times that we spent together. It was always fun, and just always remember it for as long as I live. He's always in my mind, and I'm always thinking about him because he's just that good of a friend. And that, you know, I love him like he's my brother. He's pretty much like family, even though I only knew him for a few years. Yeah, he's pretty much a guy definitely worth knowing and getting to know, being close to.
If I had 5 minutes with Dylan, I'd probably tell him how important he was to me and others, and how much I truly do miss him. Life will never be the same without him, and he has helped me in more ways than not. Like, when he was alive, he guided me with advice, and I truly miss that advice from him because I've gone through high school feeling so alone, and he would have been there for me with his brotherly advice on what he had gone through in high school and what he experienced, and I just miss that. So if I had 5 minutes with him, I'd probably spend those 5 minutes just talking with no awkward silences, and just telling him how much I love him and I just want him back.
If I had 5 more minutes that I could communicate directly with Dylan, let him know how proud I was of him. Let him know how proud I was that he led me to Jesus. And to let him know that I wish if I had a lot of things back, I think I would have tried to be a better father to him. But also to let him know that I was very proud of him. That he grasped onto the people that could lead him in the right direction in life. And that, you know, I'll miss him forever until we're together one day again. And that, you know, everybody misses him. Now his grandpa's with him. And I'm sure that makes his grandpa happy. And I'm sure that makes Dylan happy. And just ask him to watch over us and, you know, put in a good word for us up there. Everybody down here could use it. And I think even probably just as important as family is, you know, what he meant to his friends. And they still come over to the house and hang with me and have some beers and have some cookouts and some bonfires, and that they're all great kids and they've turned into great adults. And I think a lot of that is his influence on people, and I just miss him terribly and pray for the day that I'll be able to see him again.
Well, if I could have 5 minutes with Dylan right now, honestly, I'd tell him how much I missed him. You know, how much time has passed, how much stuff we wish we could have done with him, how great of a friend he was, and just how much he really meant to me. Because I don't think there's very few people in this world that meant as much to me as Dylan. And you don't really realize what you have until it's taken away. And I mean, I don't regret anything. I hung out with Dylan a lot, and I you know, we didn't waste any, you know, time. I mean, I didn't, I'm just glad I got to hang out with him when I did, really. I think, you know, it was the time that we all spent together was, you know, those are memories that you can't put a price on. It's just, I'll never forget it. And if I could talk to him for 5 minutes, you know, I'd just tell him how much of a great person he was, and honestly how much of an impact he had on my life, you know, when he was still around and, you know, in death. I mean, you know, he made me want to be a better person after the fact. Kind of, I felt like I needed to kind of like carry out his wishes or his ideals a little bit, you know, kind of keep the good spirit alive that he kind of possessed. And I think that was the biggest lesson that he had tried to share with all of us in his time here on Earth. So
We love you, Dylan.
I am the Master Commander!
That wasn't part of the script.
Somewhere over